A good example is SWIFT, which is the most important worldwide interbank telecommunication system. SWIFT is the acronym for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications. It is a computerized international telecommunication system that, through standardized formatted messages, rapidly processes and transmits financial transactions and information among its member banks around the world. The use of SWIFT is more convenient and reliable than previous methods of communications, such as mail, telex, and cable. SWIFT has grown considerably since 1973 and had been in continuous operations since 1977. It covers most of Western Europe, North America, parts of South America, and the Far East. It is a full-center financial transaction control system, with banks connecting their terminals to programmable concentrators to each country. The principal function of SWIFT is to provide its member banks with access to the system for the settlement of international money transfers. However, we must remember that SWIFT isn't a system allowing banks to settle payments. Settlements among banks still require an international clearing house, such as CHIPS, Target, and so on. Next, we'll illustrate two clearing systems for US dollar. One is Fedwire, and the second is CHIPS. Fedwire is a fund transfer system operated nationwide in the USA by the Federal Reserve System to transfer funds from one financial institution to another, both with an account balance held with the Fed. The member institutions include Federal Reserve member banks, non-member depository institutions, and certain other institutions, such as U.S. branches and agencies of foreign banks. Participants use Fedwire to instruct a reserve bank to debit the paying bank's account and credit the payee bank's account. Fedwire processes and settles payments orders individually throughout the operating day. Payments to the payee bank over Fedwire is final and irrevocable when the amount of payment order is credited to the payee bank's account, or when the payment order is sent to the payee bank, whichever is earlier. An institution sending payment orders to a reserve bank is required to have sufficient funds, either in the form of account balance or overdraft capacity, or a payment order may be rejected. This mechanism is called RTGS, abbreviated by Real-Time Gross System. Such system is usually operated by central banks, in which cash payment order is settled immediately upon its entry into the system in its entire or gross amount. Another settlement system for US dollar is CHIPS, acronym for Clearinghouse Interbank Payment System. CHIPS is a settlement system involving primarily about more than 100 New York City financial institutions and operated by the New York Clearinghouse Association. This system was founded in 1970. Many other institutions have access to CHIPS through offices or correspondents in New York City. CHIPS is a netting system in which payment orders debiting the accounts of participants are collected for a certain time period, and then at the end of the time, the net position is calculated and cleared for each participant on the basis of the payment orders sent and received. For example, if Bank A sends 10 million US dollars in transfers to Bank B, and Bank B sends 8 million US dollars in transfers to Bank A, then only the net amount of 2 million US dollars is transferred at the end of the day. That's a netting settlement system. During the day, member banks send instructions to CHIPS regarding transfers that they wish to make to other banks in New York City. Only information flows during the day. At the end of the day, value transfer occurs. There are two classes of banks in CHIPS. Settlement banks are the largest New York City banks. At the end of the day, CHIPS reports to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York the net amount to debit and credit at each of the settlement banks. Non-settlement banks use the large settlement banks as correspondents to settle their accounts with CHIPS. Now, CHIPS processes over 95% of US dollar cross-border payments. Therefore, compared to Fedwire, CHIPS play a more important role in processing international US dollar transactions. By comparing Fedwire and CHIPS, we can conclude RTGS is more safe, while netting system is more efficient. Netting payment system lowers liquidity requirements that banks need in order to settle payments of a specific value, since only the difference between the value of an individual bank's incoming and outgoing payments is settled by transferring funds. In addition, netting systems are more efficient from the point of view of the communications and processing capacity employed. Therefore, RTGS is generally adopted by central banks, such as Fedwire for US dollar, Target for euro. Netting system is more efficient, of course, at the cost of security. CHIPS, which is operated by private banks, adopt the netting system such as CHIPS.